Hello and welcome back to the Weekend Spread, the Schooner Pod's weekly college football pick'em podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and after a 10-1 week, the captain, Bowden Blake, who has moved into a tie for first place. Blake, how you feeling after that 10-1 run? Just an incredible prowess of picking. You got to give it up to you. That was really well done.
I feel fantastic. I've never been more excited to hop on the Weekend Spread than tonight. Last week's episode was so passionate. There were tempers flaring all across the podcast, Malort bets being made, disagreements run amok, but I came out on top on every single one of them. Like, I was so locked in last week. I was so damn right that the only pick I didn't get was Alabama that we were all on with South Carolina, and that was the one you really wanted to be wrong about. But yeah, the LSU Ole Miss game, a fantastic spectacle of Garrett Nussmeier throwing for 40% like that entire game and somehow bringing it back in to suck Bobby into his second Malort shot of the night with that electric. We were together watching it.
Oh my goodness.
Arizona State holding off Utah, ending Cam Rising's career. He came back for one night only just to doom Bobby to Malort. So it was by far a fantastic weekend of college football. It felt all the bets were hitting, all the picks were hitting, the takes, the game plan, everything was just unfolding in front of my eyes like Picasso. And just knowing that Jameson and Bobby were sitting in the Cotton Bowl having to watch that horrendous display that OU was putting on. It was a hater's chef's kiss type of weekend. Like, if you're a true hater, you loved last weekend.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you couldn't tell, Blake's TCU Horned Frogs had a bye week last week.
Yeah. They cannot hurt. And the Cowboys are coming up this week. I have a great feeling about this NFL Sunday this weekend. I just have a great feeling about it.
Your Cowboys sure laid an egg on you. Paid for it with the Cowboys, Blake.
I did, but
no Cowboys this weekend is an absolute blessing for you with TCU Utah.
I need it. I need it.
Yeah,
this is the dawn of an era of. I think
is that not on the slate?
No,
TCU. No. Hell no, we're not putting that on the slate. It's garbage. But no, just awful week for me. Lost both my wild card and my pot agreed. Camera. I cannot think of it. I've never been that mad at just a random team, but Utah blowing it like that just really pissed me off. The Rutgers just got shellacked by Tawi Walker and Wisconsin. I did not see that. I did not see that coming, man. That was awful. It just safe to say I'm completely snake bitten. Everything I touch turns to absolute garbage, but that's fine. Sometimes that's the way it is. But look, I think we got another really good slate here. It was kind of funny last week too, because I was so bummed out about the OU game. I wasn't checking other scores. And then when I finally did, it just hit me like a ton of bricks, how bad my week was. I don't know.
I learned the shades of colors for our spreadsheet that weekend just so I could go put them in, just so I could have that moment when Jameson and Bobby opened up that spreadsheet and it just.
Bro, Ole Miss had that game the whole freaking time too. Like that is just that's just like they outplayed LSU the majority of that game. It's just how it goes.
LSU never led the entire game. Like the game-winning field goal.
Was there a missed field
goal? No, it was a touchdown.
Touchdown.
Yeah, there were a lot of mishaps from Ole Miss that game that just makes me feel gross. But whatever. I hate college football. I already said this before I hate college football. I'm not happy talking about this, but I'm going to do it.
It's really just fun to watch. If we didn't have anything at stake, really, it'd be different. But we have our pride at stake. We have to make picks and then see them on the side of the screen week after week.
My pride's already gone. I've got to win 22 games in a row to get to 500 this season. I'm just in the dump. It is bad. This is really bad. I feel very incompetent.
You're quick mental math. You're at what, 0.34 or something right now?
I don't know. What
Roughly.
It's bad. It's really
Like
bad.
25 to 50 would be 0.333 ish.
It's I don't
yeah.
know what's going on, man. I'm a
Like,
problem.
I was looking at like my all-time record. I'm like up 10 over the past 8 years or so, and this is about to send me 10 under. If the results hold. So I gotta get back to digging my way up. This is bad.
I
This
just
is
got to
bad.
beat Bobby. That's all I care about this point.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. All right, let's get into this slate here because I think it's actually a really, really good one. I know we've had last week was obviously a massive one. Week before, full of upsets. College football, unless you're picking it, is a gift that keeps on giving. So we're gonna move on to our first game. It's a ranked matchup between the 24th ranked Michigan Wolverines, 4-2 overall, 1-5 against the spread. Jameson, not great for your Wolverines, who you're pretty high on this preseason.
I thought defense would win. It's not the
Nope.
case.
Nope.
Turns out like Michigan and OU just
Yeah.
the same side of the same coin.
Is that a Brent Venables quote?
You have no offense, no matter how good the defense is. It literally cannot hold the team together.
Comparing Michigan to Oklahoma is an absolute insult to that Michigan football team, Blake. So don't do that.
I don't know.
Okay. Michigan's pretty
I
bad.
will say
They've rolled out three
I-
quarterbacks, and they've
Do you
all
think
horrendous.
Oklahoma could have beaten USC in any way, shape, or form? No, they are not in the same tier.
Maybe.
No.
Maybe.
No. We were lost by 40 versus USC.
They got shellacked against
but still.
40. We didn't even lose by 40 to Texas.
I
Come
know.
on. Get out of here. Get out of here.
40, and I immediately said it was hyperbole.
Okay. Anyways,
No, we would have lost big to USC. Simple.
I disagree. Let's move on to okay. So Michigan facing Illinois, the 22nd ranked Illini. They're 5-1 overall and against the spread after a bit of a gnarly game against Purdue last week. Barely survived the 1-5 Boilermakers at home in overtime. Michigan favored by 3 here. You can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on CBS. This one going down in Champaign, Illinois. Jameson, wait. It's Blake. Sorry, Blake. You start us off here. Who do you like?
I don't. This one's the hardest one to pick on the board. Purdue is horrendous. Like I was watching, it was in my quad box. That Purdue Illinois game, in allowing Purdue, with just one of the most horrendous teams out there right now, to put up 536 yards on you and just run all over you is an embarrassment for Illinois. It makes me mad that Michigan's even ranked. They don't deserve to be ranked. That spot is holding out like Texas Tech or Vanderbilt or like some of these other ones that actually probably need to be ranked.
There we go, Texas Tech.
Texas Tech should probably, they should be ranked. It's sad, but I don't know. They are going with Jack Tuttle this game, I believe. But it doesn't matter. The bad defense doesn't matter. I'm gonna go Michigan. I think there's something left in the tank there that they could keep one of these close and just actually win a game. So I could see a blueprint similar to USC, the USC game flying out there. They're just running the ball, keeping it slow, get the clock draining, and hopefully get some stops on defense. But yeah, this one's gross. I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole.
I am with Blake on this one. I will be riding with my precious Michigan Wolverines. I don't know why I said my precious. I don't really like them. I don't dislike them, but I do wish OU was more like them. I wish we would unlock cheating like they do because it gets them somewhere. So I will be riding with Michigan. Hopefully they have found a new way to cheat because that's kind of what they've been failing at this year. And that's what won them the championship last year. But I'll ride with the Wolverines -3.
I'm going to go opposite on this one. Look, outside of that just horrendous Purdue game, look, Purdue always has one in them to kind of, strike fear in a ranked team's heart. Illinois has been a wagon. They've been covering games, looking really good. The only problem is when they're an underdog, what the second you're not an underdog anymore, you look a little shaky. I think they're going to get right back to their covering ways, in my opinion, winning ways in what will be a massive game, because even though Michigan is kind of awful this year, they still got that big M. They're still the defending national champs. And I feel like Champagne will be popping for this one. So give me the Illini to get a cover here. Bielema and crew get it rolling. So Illinois +3 is the play.
Oh, this is so great, Blake. Do you know Jack Tuttle, where he started his career? What college?
Oh God, I do not. The name sounded familiar.
I'll give you a hint. Bobby is supporting this college this week, and it really burned him last week, and he's going to really go in against a Utah quarterback.
Oh, did he?
He played at Utah.
What the heck?
That was
when, like 10 years ago, before Cam Rising got there.
Yeah, this dude was born in the 90s. So this is a former Utah quarterback that decided to leave Utah. Smart man. That's a real smart man. Now this dude born in 1999 is going to be starting versus Illinois. I think that's super fun. I think good vibes for betraying the Utah generation and going over to Michigan. And I think what you said, Blake, is a good point and kind of what I had written down for this game. For that Purdue game, 2 100-yard rushers at the running back position, and you would figure Michigan could pull off something similar to that and give them some issues. So I think Michigan can cover the spread here.
All right, riding as an island boy with Bielema and crew, that's fine. I'm cool with it. Nothing else to lose at this point. Moving on to our next game, we got the Nebraska Cornhuskers, 5-1 overall and against the spread. They're heading on to take on Indiana, ranked 16th in the country. Coach Sig has it rolling for the Hoosiers. They're 6-0 overall, 5-1 against the spread. And they're favored against Nebraska by 6.5. You can find this one big noon kickoff, 11 a.m. Central on Fox. Jameson, who do you like?
Damn, I wish I could see Bobby try to pick this one because he tried to ruin Indiana in the past, and we'll see what he does this way. I'm just going to bet that he's going to pick Indiana, and I have a feeling that he almost ruined them last time, and he's going to do it again, and he's going to finally do the straw that broke the camel's back. So I'm going to pick Nebraska here just to see what Bobby does.
Look, I'm bad across the board, but I only ruin things whenever it's a wild card. And look, they're the only win I've got. And look, I think Rule and everyone over there, they have a solid thing going. But Indiana, 6.5-point favorites at home. I like Coach Sig and crew to get it done. So I'm not changing based off what Jameson says on this one. Nebraska's offense just hasn't found it recently. They've kind of stagnated. So Indiana in Bloomington, give me the Hoosiers.
All I'm doing is trying to fade Bobby this whole pod so I can overtake him finally.
Well, I will also maybe I'm making it easy on Jameson. Maybe his 22-game win streak to get him to break even starts now. I'll be riding with Bobby with Indiana on this one. I don't know anything about either of these teams, but I see that one is ranked and it is less than a touchdown favorite. So that is my methodology here.
Yeah, I was the early adopter of Sigs Inside. They were my wildcard pick for 2 weeks. I love watching this team. I think Cincinnati is a fantastic coach, has made an actual program out of something that like Indiana's probably one of the worst Power 5 programs ever.
They are.
They could be the worst. Like I don't have the stats there, but
like they have the most losses in Division I and the worst win percentage in D1. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
they've made 12. They've made 12 bowls and won 3.
Okay. Yep. There we go. I was like, I knew there's probably some math out there about how bad they are, but it worries me a little bit that they still have not played a legit defense. When you're talking about the best defense that Indiana has played is either Maryland or Northwestern.
Bro, that's bad.
That makes me a little shaky. Like Indiana has done exactly what you needed to do, is hold serve against these really bad teams. Because really, if they do that, like their only other hard games on the schedule are Michigan, depending on what you think of them at the time, and then Ohio State. Like there's a good chance that we can see a 10-2 Indiana team that has maybe a chance of getting one of those outside playoff bids. But I just think 6.5 is a little too much for a Nebraska team. I know Dylan Raiola, he's been looking really shaky. the last few weeks. Like I know against Rutgers, their last game, I think he only threw for like 130, 140 yards, like completion percentage, like close to 50, if like around there, like did not look fantastic. He's kind of getting some of those freshman jitters, but I think that Nebraska defense is very legit, something they can lean on, and Dylan Raiola does enough. This Nebraska passing game does enough just to keep it close. But I would love to see Indiana, but maybe like Indiana on a field goal win just to keep the dream alive.
Fair enough. Also, I just realized for the, do you just have a football hanging out on your bed right now?
Oh, yeah. I have footballs everywhere, actually, too.
There you go.
I have my Duke, the NFL one that I bring up for NFL games, and then my college football.
I like how you're like, yeah, let's decorate by putting a couple balls on the bed. All right, well, there we go.
Like to throw them around while I work.
Nice, good deal. All right, moving on to our next game. We're into Big 12 play here. It's the Oklahoma State Cowboys, an abysmal 3-3, 2-4 against the spread. They're heading to Provo on a Friday night to take on the 13th ranked BYU Cougars, 6-0 overall and against the spread. The Cougs in pole position in the Big 12, them and Iowa State. They're favored by 9. You can find this one at 9:15 p.m. Central on ESPN. Again, this one on a Friday night. Blake, who do you like?
This OSU team's quit. I think they're quitting on Gundy. And I know this is like the exact game that Ty is going to turn around and be like, that contract in the mouth, because he always seems to somewhat turn things around. But this is just getting bad. Like that West Virginia game, I think West Virginia is a solid Big 12 opponent, but one that's very towards the middle of the table. And they just got absolutely demolished by them. I just feel like OSU does nothing well. They can't defend. They can't stop the run. Their offense, what we thought was going to be a very senior offensive line, seems to have a whole bunch of issues. Ollie Gordon has never really got going. It's more the Ollie Gordon that we saw in the final 3 games of last year versus the ones that we remember early on in the season. Just nothing is working. Like they don't have a good enough quarterback play to like get them going. There's just nothing on this roster that could spark a turnaround, I feel like, for them. There's no young guys that are like, maybe we just give him a chance and see what happens. They really don't have that. This is a very senior team, and that's why people liked them coming into this year. BYU is the most fun team right now to watch. I never thought I would come around so hard on the BYU Cougars, but this year, between the Utah fans and just the style of play, they have me actually cheering for BYU, which I never thought would happen. But Jake Retzloff is he's an electric quarterback. He's just they're seriously the most fun game to watch. I'm glad that this one's on a Friday, so people who haven't gotten a chance to watch them can. They've just been destroying teams. They destroyed, like, Arizona and BYU probably had very similar yardage last week, but they're having that TCU kind of 2022, 2023, like miracle type season where just everything is going their way. Like they're playing about the same game on the offensive side of the ball, but they're turning the ball over. They're getting special team stuff going in their way. They have the 4-leaf clover right now in college football. I'm going, BYU's going to kill them. They're going to massacre this OSU team. I like Gundy. There's going to be some conversations, I feel like, after this season about what OSU's future looks like under Gundy, because it is not looking great.
Well, if OSU fires Gundy, I know another spot in Oklahoma that could sure use him right now. It cannot be worse. With that being said, I also would play.
Oh, brother, it can't be worse. Trust me, it can't be worse.
I don't know that it can. I don't know that it can. I've seen that win-loss against ranked opponents, but I will also be riding with BYU here. I've long been a someone who picks BYU on the weekend spread. I've long told people that they will make waves when they get to the Big 12, and they're certainly doing that this year. So I will go ahead and ride with my Cougs.
Yeah, BYU is just, I mean, they've been rolling at home. They're just good in general, I think. And Oklahoma State it's a disaster for them. I get that they're off a bye week, but I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. If it's Garrett Rangel, if it's, I don't know. I feel like if Gundy had levers, he would have pulled him by now. The dog and mouth contract game really should have been West Virginia, and that was awful. He did get headbutted by a cow, so maybe that turned things around from him. But Friday night in Provo, it's like the worst bounce back game possible. So I think BYU rolls here, -9.
I will say though, one thing I'm going to pick BYU, but the one thing that does give me a little bit worries is, could there be an injury component of the way that Oklahoma State wanted to run their offense with Ollie Gordon? We knew in the preseason that he had some devastating injury and all the message boards were going crazy, right? And they're like, oh, he might be out for a long time. And then all of a sudden it kind of just like went into the shadows. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's had this long nagging injury that we just don't know about. He left for a little bit, went to the blue tent in that West Virginia game and came back. So could he be not 100%? Maybe this bye week helps it out a little bit and changes their scheme back to the way that they want to run things. It could. And we could be like, oh, this Oklahoma State offense is going back to being competent. I'm not making that bet in Provo at 9:15 Central Time on Friday. That is not a risk I'm willing to take. But just something that is in the back of my mind about this game.
I will say, though, this BYU team did an excellent job defending him last year. The BYU almost sent OSU not to the Big 12 championship on the road. Like, they do, and that was a bad BYU team this year. Like, and their defense is vastly improved this year. And so...
Thanks for reminding me how close that OU team was to the Big 12 title, Blake. It was right there, man. Awful. All right, moving on to our next game. We have got the LSU Tigers, 5-1 overall after a thrilling win against Ole Miss. Deserved? That's up for you to decide. They are 2-4 against the spread. They're heading to Fayetteville to take on the Razorbacks, 4-2 overall, 5-1 against the spread. The Hogs, 5-1 against the spread, by the way, is from teamrankings.com. So a little bit different from the weekend spread account because they have more losses against the spread due to shenanigans. Jameson and I know all too well about those piggies popping. LSU 2.5-point favorites on the road. You can find this one 6 p.m. Central on ESPN. Jameson, who do you like?
I was really excited to see this injury report come out right before the podcast in regards to Taylon Green, because we know that he had a knee injury and he's not on the injury report for Arkansas. Like, really? Not even like a questionable whenever they were talking about it in their coach press conference. So, I mean, like, he's going to play either way, but that just still gives me like shivers that Taylon Green, if he has a lower body injury, that he might not be fully mobile, that he kind of, brings the hum to this Arkansas offense. And if he's not 100%, I don't know if I could get the piggies popping. I think that's going to give, Nussmeier enough to outscore Arkansas and win by more than 3.
I'm not believing in LSU yet. Honestly, I'm
Good.
going back with the pig. I know you're happy about it, Jameson. I'm going back with the piggies here. I feel like they have something figured out with Taylon Green. I feel like that environment is pretty damn good in Fayetteville. And look, LSU on the road so far. They lost in Vegas, which is technically a road game, and they looked shaky against South Carolina. So I feel like Arkansas, if they're rolling, I think they can get a dub here. So give me the Hogs as a home dog plus 2.5.
I was on mute, and I also forgot that it was my turn. I thought we were going around the other way. I will be riding with LSU here. They looked a little stinky against Ole Miss, I'm not going to lie, and I think Death Valley won that one for them. They had some Bayou magic going on in that one for sure, but that was an amazing game, amazing game to watch, having picked LSU in that one. Everything is pointing to Arkansas maybe being a better team, in my opinion, but that opinion is being formulated from the fact that I've only ever seen LSU, and they've been stinky every time I've seen them. I've never actually watched an Arkansas game, never will. With that being said, go ahead and give me the Tigers minus 2.5. Anything under like -7 is essentially a pickup. So go ahead.
Bro, all you talked about in that pick was how LSU is stinky, and you don't know enough about Arkansas, and you pick LSU.
Yeah, but I don't like Arkansas. I inherently like LSU.
You like LSU?
I like, if it was like a binary, do you care for this team?
All you've done is talk mad game about Louisianans.
And is that none of it is false? None of it has ever been proven false.
Okay. All right.
You know where I'm going with this one. You're telling me Pity
Pull up the
has.
pick.
Let me find the pick really quick. You're telling me Pity is a home underdog versus, like many people have said, this LSU team kind of stinks. Garrett Nussmeier, I thought was going to be a lot better. He looked horrendous last week. He's a left-hander that has a weird delivery. The ball does not come out well. It's something about it just feels off. None of his balls are ever like getting completed. I like if Taylor Green can play. I think the Bobby Petrino hire, like, that has had a good influence. I feel like this Arkansas team is way better than we thought like they were going to be. Let me find the pick really quick, but yeah, Arkansas is a hard place to play on the road. This just feels like a magical season for them. So I am taking, look at that man. Look at that man, Pity. Look at them pitties.
Pittman's big moobs are on the camera right now for podcast listeners.
Thank you for
you want
describing it.
You want to hear a funny story? Well, it's not really that funny. This is just a very quick anecdote. I had looked up the Sam Pittman boobs picture on Google, I think last week, but not private browsing. So I had that in my little bit in my search history. So I go to type in something in Google whenever I'm at work, and it's just right there. And I'm like, I guarantee you, no one in this office know who Sam Pittman is. And Sam can be a female's name. And I'm like, yikes.
The Sam Pittman OnlyFans account. Oh no.
And I'm like, oh man, not a good decision to do that.
Yeah, all right, we're moving on to the next one. It's another Big 12 battle. The 17th ranked Kansas State Wildcats, 5-1 overall, 2-4 against the spread, head to Morgantown to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers, who are 3-3, 2-4 against the spread. K-State favored by 3 on the road. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on Fox. Blake, who do you like?
This one's tricky because I always think that West Virginia is really going to show up. That home crowd is really going to put a damper in one of these ranked teams that comes into their house. But really, Iowa State just dominated that game last week. And I also came out too very impressed with K-State. I think that game, like K-State Colorado, was a fantastic game. Showed me a lot about both teams. Avery Johnson came up in the clutch. It showed me that Colorado is actually for real. Colorado was dropping receivers left and right and was still able to stay in that game. And they couldn't run the ball that entire game. Like I was impressed. I was very impressed by both teams. Avery Johnson had the moment of the week whenever he took the selfie while on the bike on the sidelines with the Colorado fans that passed him his phone. So I'm liking the vibes for the first time with Kansas State. It seems like they are destined to make it to Arlington once again. I don't think, looking at their schedule, they really have like their hardest game is just at Iowa State at the end of the year, but they really have like a nice little serving of the bottom feeders plus like Arizona, Cincinnati. But we now know that Arizona State's not as good. So this is going to be a special season for K-State. I'm going to take them minus the 3. Didn't see it last week for Morgantown to stop Iowa State. I think this K-State team's a little bit more dynamic. So I'm going to go the K-State Wildcats.
Look, maybe it's just the travel to get up there, but I know that West Virginia fans can get rowdy, and Morgantown at night is certainly no joke, especially when we start to get into the fall here. OU experienced that a few times, a few close calls, a few tough games out there for sure when we were back in the Big 12. All that being said, I will be riding with Blake on K-State minus 3 here. But this is one to be wary of. Morgantown is sneaky. I'm not trying to go back and forth, Jameson. This is just Morgantown is sneaky.
You're not going back and forth. You're going one way and then you veer. It's like the meme of like going down and just hitting right.
It's a disclaimer.
Highway.
It's a disclaimer.
It's like a compliment sandwich, except it's like open-faced, you know? So
it's a talk.
It's the less nuanced Josh Pate, just like saying like buttering up one side and then buttering up the other. You do it with the pig plus the butter.
Because if we were Pate, we'd cut it in half and you'd only ever see the piece about each school. He never publishes it all together.
It's like A/B testing, but for takes, you know?
Mhm.
That's a little marketing
I
joke
know.
for y'all.
Give me K-State -3.
Yeah, here's my thing with West Virginia. I was a little bit on the fence about Iowa State last week winning there. Turned out to be totally right. And I'm a little concerned that Neil Brown, who I like at West Virginia, might have lost the plot. When at this week's press conference, he said that they asked him, like, if you're losing, like, what do you have to say to the fans who are all mad at y'all's losing? And he was like, well, y'all can enjoy the tailgating and the nice day out. Like, you just try to find other things to make you happy. And I feel like the West Virginia fans didn't take that well. Anytime you're resorting to kind of pivoting to away from tough questions and pointing out tailgating, like, that just feels like a bad sign for me. So K-State, they're steady. They got their bad loss out of the way. I think they're going to continue to roll and cover in Morgantown in a relatively tough environment, but one that feels like they're in danger of possibly losing the plot here.
Yeah, even though K-State didn't cover last week versus Colorado, that we were talking about the narrative of, do you really think Avery Johnson is bad on the road? I think he proved in Colorado that he's not that. He came out and made a big time play at the end, get the 50-yard touchdown to come up with the lead with 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. I think he's that dude. He's what we thought he was. And I think that Morgantown, with the way that team is turning right now, is not something as concerning as going into Colorado's environment. So give me K-State.
All right, there we go. Sweep for the Wildcats. Moving on to a big one. It's the third Saturday in October. It's the 7th ranked Alabama Crimson Tide, 5-1 overall, 3-3 against the spread. Heading to Knoxville to take on our old friends, the Tennessee Volunteers, ranked 11th in the country, 5-1 overall, 4-2 against the spread. Bama favored by 3 on that damn Morgan Wallen grass. I can find this one 2:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Jameson, which side do you think will be lighting up those stogies come Saturday night?
Tennessee didn't even score until 3 minutes left to go in the third quarter versus Florida. That is a red flag. Like, whenever that offense wasn't humming versus Oklahoma, we're like, yeah, our defense is doing really well. And, they put their foot off the gas. And then we started to see it slowly but surely. Like, this Tennessee offense, I mean, like, understandably, with a young quarterback, they're starting to have hiccups. There's starting to be some concerns here. And from what I saw last week in that Florida game, to where Florida essentially had it and just blew it, I don't know if I can pick Tennessee at all. I don't care if they're at home. And them versus Bama at home will be an electric environment. I can't pick Tennessee from what I saw last week with that offense. Alabama, I understand. They also have some I have some doubts in Alabama. But at least they have more positives going for them right now than I can find for positives at Tennessee. I think Alabama can cover the spread at 3.
Well, Jameson, you're going to be happy to hear this because I'm rolling with the Tennessee Volunteers on this
Ooh-wee.
one.
It's that Tennessee algorithm on your For You Twitter page that's starting to get you back.
No. Because here's my thing. Look, if I was listening to Tennessee fans, I would be picking Alabama because they are pissed at the Vols right now. They're all trying to fire Josh Heupel, which just saying, that's kind of funny. But anyways, Tennessee, though, to me, both of these teams feel like they're in similar places. Knoxville at 2:30. If it was at night, it would be a little bit different, but these people are going to be fired up. I've seen how they party. They've shown me videos of their tailgate when I was over there, when they came over to mine, and I know they're going to be fired up for this one. And to me, I think the difference is if that Tennessee defensive line can affect Jalen Milroe, and that crowd can affect Jalen Milroe in some bad turnovers, maybe a pick 6 or so, I feel like that could be the difference in the game. The biggest question, of course, for the Vols will be figuring out that offensive line, which has continued to be a problem. Lance Hurd, very much a problem. So folks thinking Beanbo missed out on him. Maybe not. Probably would help this offensive line still anyways. But regardless.
Yeah, Bobby, beggars are not choosers, and we are beggars.
He is looking like a damn matador out here, Jameson. I've seen the clips. It's not great.
Well,
it's not great.
I don't think we played a consistent left tackle for this whole season for the most part. So
Shoot. Hey, Tennessee, if you want to do a midseason trade, we're all in. I don't know. I think Tennessee's defensive line and the crowd do enough to affect this game. I think they cover the spread. I think they probably win a little bit here too. So I'm going to go with the Vols. This is a tough game to call because I feel like both of these programs aren't in good spots right now, but Tennessee's the move for me.
Legitimately, I know we do this as a bit a lot. If Alabama does not lose this game, they should fire their coach. You have to strike while the iron is hot before what Saban built crumbles. If this dude shows up in a t-shirt and fumbles this layup of a -3 with this roster that he's been given, you need to cut your losses, Bama fans. With that being said, I'm obviously taking Bama -3. I don't think that this guy is a legitimate coach. I think this is some sort of deep con/fraud. I think he's using AI or something to get by, and he struggles in games. That being said, Tennessee, very fallible. They're not the team that we thought that they were when they came into Norman. They're not the team that we thought that they were when they left Norman. Unfortunately for them, I think Bama just has a better roster. I know that one's going to get tricky with some people, but I think Bama easily gets this game if they can get their coach to care even a little bit about this game, which he clearly does not. Bama -3.
Yeah, I'm going with Bama as well. The difference in what I saw between like these like two struggling programs last week is on the Tennessee side, they're just the offensive line play is bad. Nico can't pass the ball. They can't really establish the run. Their defense is good enough like to kind of keep them in games, but I'm also like Florida's not some gunslinging team. Arkansas is not some gunslinging team, and they still were able to like one win it and another one, like if they hadn't gone for Billy Napier, just a side little tangent rant. Billy Napier, the dumbest coach in America, when you are going into a hostile environment and you are more than 2 touchdown underdog and you have a chance to win the game with the 2-point conversion, you go for it. You do not take them to overtime and try to beat them there. I don't get it. I don't get why these coaches try to do it. They're not the same type of program. Just go and try to win it on one play. If it doesn't happen, so bad. But like, just pissing me off by just not you had a chance to upset them there. You had the ball at the 2-yard line with the game on your back and you wouldn't take it. So that makes me mad. But Tennessee, very concerning on the offensive side of the ball, especially since Heupel's a great offensive coach, one that has had a scheme that seems to be working, but none of the pieces are clicking right now. Bama is hurting, but I don't think it's as concerning as Tennessee. That game versus South Carolina, like it was a lot of Jalen Milroe mistakes, which granted could happen again easily at Tennessee. Like they're definitely repeatable, but South Carolina had a lot of fluky stuff to keep them in that game that Alabama had very many chances to just run away with that thing. And Jalen Milroe was making a whole bunch of bad decisions. So I hope that corrects itself. I've seen Jalen Milroe in the big games versus Georgia. He can do it. I'm going to trust that a little bit more, that big game experience. And I looked it up. In the last 20 years, I think Bama's covered the spread 14 times in this game. Like they are dominant. They come out and they try to kill this team. So Tennessee, Alabama, both sliding. I just think Alabama has that slight edge on the big game advantage. And I just feel like that South Carolina game was a little bit of a fluke. I don't think it was as bad as the final score indicated.
It almost went to overtime if it wasn't for what's his name telling him to not take a knee in the end zone.
Yeah,
so.
I was like that would have been electric if like a walk-off safety, or I guess not walk-off, but like a safety descended to overtime was gonna be fantastic.
It would have been electric. Moving on to our next game. It's the Arizona State Sun Devils, 5-1 overall and against the spread. Heading to old Nippert Stadium to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats. This is one of those games that is just really funny that it's a conference game.
Yep.
Cincy, a very impressive 4-2 overall and against the spread. Got to give credit to them. They're a 6.5-point favorite. This line ballooned quite a bit after the injury news to Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt. Can find this one 11 a.m. Central on ESPN Plus. So there you go. Interesting. Blake, who do you like?
Yeah, this one's a hard one for me because Cincinnati has been one of honestly both of these teams have been huge surprises. I was a big Kenny Dillingham guy, always have been. Knew he would turn around that program, and I think getting it going in the right direction, but did not think it was going to happen this quickly. For many, Arizona State was probably bottom 2, bottom 3. Same with Cincinnati. Like Cincinnati came into the season, like Emory Jones left, and they're like, "What are they going to do? What are they going to do?" And they found a better quarterback in Brendan Sorsby. He's looked great. They haven't really played some of, I guess, the meat of the Big 12, but they stayed competitive at Texas Tech on the road. That's pretty impressive to me that Cincinnati has the ability to sling it, but I'm going to regret this. This is going to play back in my mind. I'm taking Arizona State plus the 6.5. And I'm going to say it right now. I don't think Jeff Sims puts them in a compromising position. That scares me. Like, you have a guy in Cam Scatabo, just hand the ball off. Like the only person that is coming close to, like, I think it's like yards after contact numbers, or like one of those running back stats with Ashton Genty is Cam Scatabo. This guy is just breaking tackles. He's a little beast within himself. So if they just hand the ball off, I feel like they can keep it close. But I know Jeff Sims gonna do something dumb. He's gonna do something dumb that kills this. Then Bobby and Jameson can attest when Sam Levitt did go out for injury for a little bit last game. I was like writhing in pain seeing that it was Jeff Sims warming up on the sideline coming in. Like, Sam Levitt's so good. Like, he's been fantastic. Like, he's been really good this year. He's the anti-Peyton Thorne. He's the transfer Michigan State quarterback that can actually play football.
That actually worked. That's funny. Ty, who do you like?
This is a stinky game. This is a stinky game with stinky teams. This looks like a final 2 decision for a kid from Ohio who has a 2.3 GPA and loves to drink, trying to figure out where he's going to go study political science. Actually, I don't know if Cincinnati even offers that. I think they might offer like cosmetology and stuff like that. But I will go ahead and take Arizona State in this one. I hate Cincinnati. I don't like Cincinnati at all. They bring nothing to the conference that is the Big 12. The only cool thing they have is their mascot once got arrested in the same year that it won Mascot of the Year, which weirdly enough, that's getting arrested does not give you points towards Mascot of the Year when it should. But yeah, mascot once arrested for assaulting a police officer during a game.
There you go. This is a tough one to me. But, look, I faded Arizona State when they played Texas State. I obviously faded them on my pot of greed. I'm going to ride with the Sun Devils. I know it was an emotional win last week, but I really like what they're building out there in the desert. I really genuinely do. Like what Dillingham has going out there feels legit, feels real. I know this Cincy team is not to be messed with. And they might win the damn game. I like Arizona State to keep it close enough and get the cover, though. Scatabo, all that, he just finds a way to close games, keep it close, kind of pound you away. So I'm going to go with Sun Devils here. Jameson, I know you're just going to... What's that?
I was gonna say, you like what you were saying about Dillingham. He's a psycho. I forgot to say that he's a psycho. That post game, like on the field, interview that he gave, he had he was seeing red. Like he was.
he like Homer Simpson me into the crowd, like just backed up into him, disappeared,
just like shaky. I love it. I love him so much. He's such a good coach.
It takes a lot to pick Jeff Sims here on the road. I don't think I can do that, guys. I understand the line kind of overcorrected with this Levitt injury, and then it's kind of regressed back to 5 right now. So 5's a lot better than 6.5. But the moral of the story is Jeff Sims on the road. I don't care about the other parts of Arizona State. I don't care about the culture. Cincinnati's been putting up points, and they're at home. They're in their comfort zone. I just don't know if Arizona State can keep up. And I'll say this, Blake. Is Scatabo the most overrated running back in the country? All people do is talk about Scatabo. And all the games I watch of him, he averages like 2 yards a carry, and then he breaks away, gets a 50
yards
yard
a
run.
carry this year.
Is Ollie Gordon still playing?
Well, he gets like a 50 to 60 yard run, and then like he goes back to just chipping away like 2 yards. Like
he gets a lot of touches. I'll give you that, but he's still averaging about 6 yards a run. Like Ty said it perfectly. I thought Ollie Gordon even last year was overrated towards the end of the season. I'm like, you're getting 40 carries a game, and you're only running for about 3 to 4 yards, one and winning games. I think Scatabo, yes, he gets a lot of he's getting put in the upper, probably top 5 running backs this year. Ashton Genty is by far the best, but I don't think he's I don't think he's bad. He gets a lot of touches, but he's still
I think I'm a little salty because in the Texas State game,
yeah, you're salty because they beat Boko.
Well, but it was the thing is this guy was 17 carries for 28 yards, and all they talked about him the whole freaking game, and I was so sick of it. Wow, look at Scatabo go, and I'm like, this dude's got nothing. And then he just pops off for just chunk plays. So I don't know. I'm picking Cincinnati. I don't think Sims can do it on the road. Simple as that. And Blake saying, I think I'm going to regret this. I've heard that before. I've heard it before. It was Florida, Miami. and I felt good about my pick in that one, picking Miami. And it just didn't make a lot of sense. Blake has this preconceived notion that he knows Miami's a good team and Florida's a bad team, but he went against his better judgment. He has a preconceived notion that he knows Jeff Sims is a horrible quarterback, but he really is going to go against his preconceived notion again. And that's not it. You should have gone with what your brain's telling you, Blake, and don't go with your heart.
That being said, Sims with Dillingham, I feel like Dillingham can do enough to
Bruh.
he made Bo Nix pretty good for a little bit. I'm just saying.
Bo Nix, he's actually doing pretty decent right now for what he has. In Denver, they've got probably one of the worst, if not the worst, running back crew and wide receiving crew in all of NFL. So I kind of feel bad for Bo Nix.
And it started with that 1 year with Kenny Dillingham. He got Bo Nix in the right place. So anyways, moving on to our next game. It is a big one. And I think to me, it's exciting that we have yet another game, where it feels like people have been tagging it as a game of a year type of thing. This is the third game of the year in the past 4 weeks. And the 1 week we didn't have one was, the game or the week where we had all the upsets. It's the number 5, Georgia Bulldogs. 5-1 overall, 1-5 against the spread. Heading to Austin to take on the number 1 ranked Texas Longhorns, fresh off a Red River rivalry win. The Horns 6-0, 5-1 against the spread. Texas favored by 5 here. You can find this one 6:30 p.m. Central on ABC. Jameson, who do you like?
See, we changed the line. Wasn't this 3 whenever we originally had it? And
this was 3.5, but
because we reopened the lines today to factor in the Arizona State one.
But I changed
I loved Texas at 3. Now that it's at 5, I start to think a little bit inside. Because Georgia's really hasn't shown to be that team that we thought they were. But I think this is going to be a really fun game. I think this is going to be close enough, and I think Texas will go away at the end. Now the 5, I think that's extremely difficult. I'm going to go Georgia now. That's a bad decision. I don't like it. But I felt good about Texas -3. I should stick with them at 5. But there's just something telling me that I think that this is a really, really tough line. Texas -3, but Georgia +5.
Jameson, do you think this one is going to stay -5 through the week as we're recording on Wednesday night for the listeners?
I don't know. I feel like more people hop on Texas. They've got a lot better. People are going to look at Georgia and what they did versus Mississippi State, And like they gave up 31 points to Mississippi State and they barely beat them. What makes you think they're going to go into Austin, to the number 1 team in the nation, who just absolutely smacked Oklahoma, and say that they can't hold back their offense? Because Georgia offense has not been too spectacular. They've been good, but they're not nearly as good as what people thought they were going to be. I think it might go more in the Texas direction.
Yeah. Okay, so here's my thing on it. And yeah, you can talk about Texas smacking Oklahoma. You're right. Final score, brutally lopsided. But Jameson, as you and I know, as me and Ty, as all three of us know on the main scooter pod, and Blake, that Oklahoma team is a interlocking OU that you have good feelings about, and that's it. They are not a competitive football team. Saying they don't even play remotely complimentary football at the moment. They were atrocious in Red River. I still don't think Texas has played a legitimate team, and they obviously haven't played a very tight game yet. The only time they've been down this season has been that field goal lead that OU took in the first quarter. And when you think about this game, you think about stakes. You think about what this means for both programs at this stage in the college football season. Georgia has already taken a tough loss. They need to win this one to stay in the SEC championship race. They have a tough schedule coming up. You got Tennessee. You got Ole Miss. Texas, on the other hand, after this, it's a breeze, a bunch of trap games, and Texas A&M at the end, who is like has looked impressive. Big rivalry game, I get it, but they don't have
put no respect on Vanderbilt and Arkansas. SMH.
They're trapped games. I'm telling you, they're trapped games, though. Like they're not these big, titanic, massive games that Georgia has. I feel like Georgia needs this one. Kirby Smart is the type of guy to get you fired up and energized for one of these sort of games. And I feel like the Dogs need this one more than Texas needs it. I think it's a big game for UT. But for them, if they lose this one, the season's still ahead of them. They're probably still making the SEC title. They're probably still making the play. They're definitely still making the playoffs unless they completely collapse. I love Georgia +5 here. I think UGA keeps it tight. I think Texas still a little bit, high off of that big Red River win, because that's a game that's impossible to not have a little bit of a hangover after. So I think Georgia goes in, gets the cover, fights back. That's my pick.
Let me just say, y'all are lucky. Well, everyone is lucky, really, that I'm not a head coach of either of these teams, because I'll tell you what, right now, with the new playoff program, the new playoff setup, this is an inconsequential game. It does not mean anything fundamentally who wins this game. Like, they very well, both of these teams can end up meeting again later in the season. Doesn't matter. I would have my second string in from snap one, and I would just refuse to even play competitive football, and then just let the media chew on that, and then just ride my way to the playoffs.
Is this a Quinn Ewers bit?
What are you going to do?
That you're saying that you're putting in the real second string?
I didn't even think of that. That is perfect, actually, because I came into this wanting to pick Georgia. I think Georgia's going to roll in this one. But now that I think about it, the fact that both of you two picked Georgia, if the ball not knowers are getting in lockstep on something, that brings me pause right away.
That is true.
Especially with Texas. And I do know that Sark shows up for these, and I do think that Texas kind of knew what they were getting from OU. And my phone is blowing up right now, but it's those political advertisement texts. Sorry.
That's what you get for living in a swing state, buddy.
Completely lost my train of thought. Yeah. I have an Oklahoma number, but I think it's because there was an older person who had my number before me, because they're all addressed to her. But God, what was I going to say? So prior to this, had I gone first on this one, I would have picked Georgia. But now Jameson and Bobby are really, really giving me pause on this Georgia pick. And I do think that Sark might show up for this game. And Georgia is fouled. They lost to a pretty atrocious Bama team. I am deciding right now. See, now I wanted to pick Texas, but then I saw the against the spreads, and I'm susceptible to the up next fallacy when it comes to spreads and thinking that they're going to regress towards the mean, and that's telling me to pick Georgia too. I hate it. I'm gonna go Georgia. I'll stick with my original. Why should I change? Just because the ball not knowers could be broken clocks.
Ty, bonus pick because the Austin Grand Prix is this weekend at the exact same time. Who wins?
Mhm.
Who wins?
The funniest possible thing would be Oscar for any.
Literally, the one
There you
year
go.
I don't go, my team can actually win it. Like I had to go there for years, watching my team just bum around on the track and not been anywhere near the podium. And then this year, I decide not to go. I'm like, I'm gonna take a break, and we're actually good this year.
We
I'm
just need a
happy.
Georgia fan to bark at a McLaren driver. That would be a beautiful sight. Sorry, we don't want to lose too many viewers
Blake
by talking about Formula
wasn't
One.
there for that one. I don't think.
Which one?
I think that was
bit.
on the main Schooner Pod. We were talking about
No,
that. But
it
how
was.
a Georgia fan may drunkenly spot a McLaren fan and just see orange and just start barking at them. And some random European is not going to understand what's happening.
I love the mix that is going to happen in Austin this weekend, and I am not siding with the ball not knowers on this one. I'm going Texas. I think this Texas team is so impressive, even with Quinn Ewers like kind of meh first half. He's starting to round into form again, and this team, I keep telling y'all, they are very well rounded. They are great on the offensive side of the ball. They can run the ball. They made OU's defense, which I actually think is pretty decent, like really good. They made them look like fools. Or what? Well, is that controversial?
Opinion.
No, I'm just saying, whip out that mulligan when Blake's done talking. Get ready to run that mulligan.
to be fair, I tried to say the defense sucked, and Jameson was like, "You can't blame the defense. How dare you blame the defense?"
I was angry.
The running back stable of Texas that I didn't think was going to look that good at all this year. The OU linebackers and corners and every safeties just forgot how to tackle. I was like, these guys can't even get close to them. They're just diving at them. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I don't know what it was, but this Texas team is legit. Like last weekend proved it. It was they had the big spread in a rivalry game, a game that's typically close, and came out and at the score does not show the amount of domination that really happened that game. I came away very impressed with Texas. The defense looked great. Granted, that might have just been maybe lack of OU offense, but they looked great all year, and the offense is still ticking. The thing that has me pause about Georgia, Carson Beck's playing great, but like Trevor Etienne, I thought he was going to be a big monster for them, take the weight off. Like he's been all right, but hasn't really been a difference maker. That defense that usually is pretty vaunted. It's like Auburn moved the ball a little bit on them. Mississippi State with their backup quarterback is moving it on them. Kentucky is keeping it close. There's a lot of red flags with this Georgia program. And just this is also too with the logic that I put in this pick. I just want to see Georgia lose. I am so sick of their stuff. I'm so sick of them thinking that they're the next Bama. They just had a run of a team that was good for 3-4 years. It's over. It's over. Your culture's crap. A guy's getting arrested every single week. Ty, the best part about it is Ty or Bobby every morning when I wake up sending the new Georgia player that got arrested for whatever car-related crime it seems like. This team has a poor culture. They everybody keeps on saying they have a good culture. It's just these bad apples. They are a bushel of bad apples. They do not have good culture. They have not been able to get over the Alabama the hump. They've just been able to literally they've just been able to prey on the SEC East, which has been so bad for so long. And now they're having to cross over a little bit and things are not getting as bad. I think this is Georgia's like a little bit downfall year. I could see them struggling against Texas. I could see them struggling against Ole Miss. I could see them struggling against Tennessee. I am praying for their downfall. They deserve it and everything and more. Give me Texas. Give me Texas.
Ty, do you actually want your mulligan here?
Run that mulligan. Run that mulligan.
Alrighty.
Give me the horns in this. Am I allowed to do the horns?
It's past.
I'll do a single horn. I'm doing a single horn.
Past the week.
Give me Texas in this one.
They are so slow out of the gates. I've never seen it's Noah Lyles, but 10 times worse out of like their first like 50 yards of the 100-yard dash. It is so bad coming from Georgia. They cannot get off the starting blocks good. And I think this Texas team you can't fool around with. They could actually put you away. They're not a Bama team that kind of messes around, gets cute. Like they're making me believe in Sark, which is something I never thought I would say, but Sark has built something incredible up there. They've built something incredible.
Well, I hope y'all are wrong. Moving on to the game that everybody is excited for. It's the South Carolina Gamecocks, 3-3 overall, 4-2 against the spread, heading to Norman, Oklahoma to take on the Oklahoma Sooners. 4-2 overall, 3-3 against the spread. First ever meeting between these two programs.
What?
Yeah, OU and South Carolina have never played before. This is the first time ever. Kind of shocking.
That is wild. I imagine OU has played just about every P5 team at this point. Like at some random time.
This is one of South Carolina is one of two SEC teams that OU has not played before entering the conference, or just in general. It's Carolina and it's Mississippi State.
Oh, I was gonna guess Vandy.
Yeah, apparently they played Vanderbilt at some point, but yeah, Sooners 1.5 point favorite. You can find this one 11:45 a.m. Central on SEC Network. Please ignore my shoddy work on the overlay, everybody. Blake, kick us off here, buddy.
This OU team is bad. They are very, very bad. I tried to warn y'all. They are bad. They are very poor. Yeah, I loved y'all's podcast this week. I loved the back and forth about what should be done on the offense. Was the Jackson Arnold move correct? All of this stuff. And I don't know the answers. That's the thing, is like, I don't know what the answers for OU is. It's like, as a non-biased observer, the offensive line is horrendous. The offensive game planning seems to make no sense. You have a guy in Michael Hawkins that is a gifted runner. Like, I was kind of being a little facetious and being a little hyperbolic when I was like, oh, he's just a running back. He can throw the ball. But the lack of designed runs that they didn't have for him versus Texas to kind of just get the ball going, it seems like they just have a game plan of allowing him to drop back, immediately get pressured, and then him have to escape for 2 yards. I'm like, that game just showed me the game plan is Michael Hawkins run for 3 yards after he's like running for his life because this offensive line can't stop anything. And that makes me really worried about this OU team going forward. I know the injury, the injury just after injury on the wide receiver core, like that is insane. But also at the same time, I'm like, if you don't give any one of your quarterbacks time to throw, like what is this really going to matter? But to pull the tie, I'm going to go with OU. This is a classic bounce back spot by OU. These teams are very similar. Their offenses are very poor. Like just what I said about OU, Lenora Sellers, Sellers sold me on some false bill of goods. He has not looked good this entire season. And the fluky, just staying in the game versus Alabama. I mentioned it, like when we were going over Alabama, Tennessee. They did not deserve to be in that game. They only they ran the ball good amount. They could not pass it. Like they do not look good. They do have a good defensive line. That worries me, but OU also has a very good defense. So I think we got 2 stellar defense, 2 poor offenses. I'm going to take the home team here. I just pray for a bounce back. Like if OU doesn't win this game, they're probably not going bowling unless they pull some miracle. Like this is necessary for them to go 6-6 and make a bowl. So I'm praying that OU just gets off the mat a little bit and can get something on the offense going just to get them. Their defense is good. They were holding Texas in the beginning, and not to that's just classic after how Texas ended up dominating, but just give them something, and this OU defense can maybe possibly hold in a game to keep it close. But I'm gonna go with the Sooners here. I think this team is gonna go bowling. This team has to go bowling, in my opinion. So I'm gonna take the Sooners.
I don't know. I'm not trying to emotionally hedge this one. I truly do not know. This line opened at, and I understand, they set them preseason and then they basically don't touch them until kind of week of. But this line opened at OU minus, was it 6.5 or was it 6?
I don't know.
That was like the line a
You
while
can't count
back.
those.
No,
you can't count.
those were like
it
those
opened
were
this
like
week
the
at
lines
3.
like weeks ago, and then they
Okay.
actually opened the line. And
Yeah, well, because when I looked Sunday, it was still like a -6 or something. I don't know if that was open, but yeah, this is a tough one. If this were in South Carolina, then I think it would be a very easy. South Carolina might very well be favored if this were in South Carolina.
Easy.
My thing is like, this is weird, and I hope this doesn't come off too like OU homery, but I still think, as unbiased as I can tune my brain to look at this game in the most unbiased way, I still think OU is a better team, especially if you look at just all the pieces individually on paper, including all the injuries that OU has right now. I think OU is a better team. With that being said, OU's just inexplicable inability to score at all is, I don't know. It's so frustrating because it's just, I can see it. I can see it all clicking for OU. Even one receiver really, like, they could be having a breakthrough like today or tomorrow. They could have had some breakthrough in practice where Hawkins and one of the receivers just clicked. And that is really the thing that we need. Because like Blake said, Hawkins has a run game that is a threat, but the issue is we have no other run game outside of the quarterbacks. We've talked about it on end the entire season on this podcast. And it's very easy to shut him down or to take away that wild card when you know that you can afford to have people just spying him, because OU doesn't have any receivers that are a real big threat. No discredit to the guys that are out there right now, but it's just, right, they're not those guys. They're 6 and 7 on the depth chart, and OU has no credible run game. So it's very easy to shut down the Hawkins game. I don't know. Blake picking OU really makes me want to go OU because I feel like he has a more unbiased opinion, but I'm going to have to emotionally hedge. I'm not even ashamed for doing this. Give me South Carolina. This is an emotional hedge. If OU wins, then I'll be happy. But if South Carolina beats us in Norman, I'll at least have the weekend spread win to hang on to.
I need to see it. So here's my thing with this game is, we can talk about Carolina's offense, questionable here and there. I know Sellers hasn't been great. He's been sacked something like 20 times this season, which is a ton. But to me, they have moments where they have explosive plays. They have moments where they can do something. There are times where I just truly wonder what the hell this OU offense is doing. And I don't know. I don't know if it's just fresh off of Texas or what, but when you combine the offense's just complete ineptitude with how good the South Carolina D-line is at getting sacks, causing disruptions, I believe they're some like 10th in sacks, and OU is 127th in sacks allowed. It just feels like a horrible recipe for the Sooners here. Because look, you talk about Blake talked a good amount about how South Carolina, they shouldn't have been in that Alabama game. A bunch of weird stuff happened for them to get there. There's been weird stuff from them the entire game, like year. They thrive on the weird. And when it gets to be that regular, it's, I don't want to say it's something you can count on, but you have to assume it's going to happen. I feel like I haven't seen it out of this OU offense enough to pick OU in this game. It makes me sad, makes me frustrated, and I sure as hell hope I am very wrong on this, but South Carolina plus 1.5, there's a reason why this line shifted the way it did. There's a reason why everybody's on the Gamecocks here, and it's because this OU team is not operable, because the offense does not work. If they can find something to shift, to change it, I will happily eat my words. and be thrilled as hell on Sunday when we recap it a Sooner win. But to me, this feels like we are on the verge of this thing spiraling out of control. And yeah, South Carolina plus 1.5 is my pick.
I've been going back and forth on this one too, Bobby. I think for the majority of the week, I was ready to pick South Carolina all the way because I was about to just go in on this Oklahoma offense. It changed down to 1.5, and then I started to think of a little bit. Something came into my chest, and I started to get a little bit more hopeful. And I've been fighting through it today because I'm like, Jameson, you already had your speech in your head. You're going to talk about this Oklahoma offense and how it can't do anything. And you're going to expect you to go out there and do something versus South Carolina defense, who's poised to do really damn good. Like, their front seven is awesome. Their defensive ends are really, really good. Very, very good. Like, and then they got great inside linebackers and can go and create issues. Who cares about secondaries anymore? You don't need a good secondary to cover Oklahoma. As long as your front seven's good, we're going to be in hell.
You're not going to throw downfield anyways.
Right, exactly. We don't look down the field. We don't throw down the field. We don't even have the capability of a wide receiver to get open down the field. So it doesn't even matter. But then I was like, if Oklahoma is going to win, it's going to be in the sloppiest baloney way, and it's going to be some field goal right at the end. And I was thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? Where we struggled here, these 2 games that we've lost and we've had pitiful offensive play, is the defense goes out there, they create a good play, and then they tail off in the second and third and fourth quarter, right? I think this South Carolina offense will gift us even more. We've picked off Quinn Ewers. You know, we really put Nico in some hell, and I just think that this defense could really go out and do even more versus South Carolina team to where to keep it really low scoring. And I think if we keep it low scoring enough, I think that maybe even 1 touchdown could do the trick here. I think OU could win this game like 16-13. So screw it. I'm doing it. This is not a good pick. Not a good pick at all because I legitimately was going to pick South Carolina this whole week. But there's something now that I just want to be hopeful and be happy.
This is just every week you know what to do, and then it gets down to the moment and just that.
I did it last week. I was gonna pick Texas, and then I picked Oklahoma. But also, I'll be completely honest. Picking Texas against the spread and then going to the game, you just feel gross. So I will take that L to at least pick Oklahoma and not have that internal hedge. And I know that's not what we should be doing on the show, but I've hated it every single time I pick Texas. Whenever I go to that game, I do not want to have any kind of inkling inside of me where I feel okay with Texas doing well. It's going to be bad. We need this game more than ever because I don't see a scenario where we can go on the road and take one from Ole Miss or Missouri or LSU. If this is legitimately bowl game or bust.
If you want to see how bad things are, there's a dude in the comments called Sooner Cowboys who's saying we're going to lose to Maine. I don't know if he's just trolling.
Sooner Cowboys, you're down bad, bro.
So here's the thing. He's saying stuff like we're the new Nebraska. To be fair, look, if you had the week that this man had, the OU Dallas Cowboy combo, I don't blame him. He can say whatever he wants. He went through
I'm going to be honest.
Went through hell and back in 2 days.
I had a thought in my brain today about the Nebraska thought, and I was like, I don't know. I felt really worried.
There's a Texas fan who said 1 word, hook 'em. That's 2 words. That's 2 words. You can't remove the space.
I will say if Blake will love this one. I don't know about Bobby and Jameson, but if we do lose to Maine, tune into the Schooner Pod where Bobby will explain why it's not the coach's fault and really it's just some sort of collection of random excuses.
I mean,
oh my god,
I might make a.
Go for it, Bobby. I was not going to say anything pertinent.
We don't need to go into the whole coaching conversation again. I think Venables made a bad hire. I'm not sure if he's a head coach or not, or if he's just good defensive coordinator. We'll find out if he can figure it out. It's all about the offseason. We're not finishing 4-8. We're not. We're going to beat Maine. Maine is atrocious. Come on, stop it.
I need to ask like just one question from a let's just stay here, y'all. Y'all probably covered this at some point on the Schooner Pod. What happened to the offensive line? Like, the
It's
one
always
thing
been
I've
this
known
bad.
about, I've known OU to always just have a great offensive line. What, or not like last week, but like what has progressively happened over the last few years that have like led to this point where this year it looks absolutely atrocious, when I know OU is probably one of the best of developing linemen in the entire
The
country.
reality of it is we knew coming into the season that it was going to be a bad offensive line. And we had one, shining person, that was Caden Green, and he got taken away from us. So we had to completely shift everyone away from their normal positions. Michael Tarquin going out at left tackle is what he is. He was not supposed to be a starter on this team. That was supposed to be a depth piece. Him starting was honestly a surprise. Jacob Sexton was supposed to be the left tackle. He obviously was supposed to be our best offensive lineman. He's been an absolute disappointment. Now we're having to shift him at guard, and he's even looking worse at guard. So that left guard spot, him having to go there, that would have been Caden Green, and we wouldn't have to be playing Jacob Sexton. Our centers are just hurt. Simple as that. I feel good in Hickman and Everett, but they just are not healthy. Right guard Weewoo is big, and that's about it. He's not looking as good. And then right tackle Jake Taylor is just not healthy. So it's injuries, and we knew it was going to be bad. And if you're taking big picture, Blake, Beatembo is really, if you're looking at straight up stars and recruiting rankings, he's gotten a lot of projects which have worked the past couple of years for guys. Like, his recent offensive lineman to go into the first round was Anton Harrison, who is a borderline 3-4 star. And then Tyler Guyton, who was a transfer, who was a nothing from TCU. And then we develop into something. And I understand he was a project, and he was like a very high ceiling project. But these are guys that these are not Caden Proctors, right? We're not getting those type of guys. We're not getting, really high in talent that, for the most part, those guys do well. I understand some don't do well, but it's a pretty good success rate. You can't keep churning out, hoping that your Lane Johnsons, your Ben Powers, these guys that come from JUCO, Orlando Browns, these low-end recruits. You can't keep hoping that one's going to turn into a superstar. 1 or 2 years, you're going to have a dud year where none of your projects develop. And that's what it's looking like right now.
Well, in Jameson too, you can't go and take 2 linemen in a recruiting class like we did in 21, and some of those lower level things. It's not great. I will say long term though, Blake, it is interesting, and we not to turn this into a Cruton corner, but as Sooner Cowboys in the comments is saying, Fasusi and a couple other guys.
Fudge is good too.
Fujay, yeah. I mean, we got a good class coming. You just have to keep them, and when you get them in the building, you also have to keep them. And look, also Jameson, I'm not sure if you saw this. I'm sure Caden Green wishes he was still in Norman too, because he got his ass benched in Columbia with Mizzou.
Yeah,
so,
I saw it.
Yeah,
And I think that the NIL had to have stepped up big time for the offensive line, for how much heat Beatembo got for the past couple of years. Probably started to heat up with the Tristan Lee departure back in, what would that be, 2018? And then
that's just a loss, right?
Yeah, but it was a last second. Like, we were supposed to have, and then Clemson came in and swooped in, probably with a bigger package for it.
Right.
But that's when the fire started to spark a little bit, and it slowly is simmered into a, wait, why can't he land a legitimate big time 5-star? And the one time he did was a guy absolutely flopped, and then flopped at Texas State too.
Yeah. Yep. Not great.
I have learned just across everyone, or every team, because my team is susceptible to this too. Transfer portal offensive linemen, I feel like, have a 10% hit rate at this point. Those guys, there's a reason why a lot of these guys are in the transfer portal, and teams should never rely on the transfer portal in order to build their line. It's just becoming to the point where these guys aren't good enough. The few that go in are going to get big NIL packages, typically from some major school. It feels like everybody thinks you can rebuild your line from the transfer portal. It's near impossible. There's not enough good talent out there to really do it.
Yeah. Oh, you got a good one, Walter Rouse, last year, but
you can find good ones, but it's TCU's gone through the same thing many a time. It feels like the last 2 years where you're taking 3-4 guys on the offensive line thinking that you can rebuild it. It just doesn't work. It does not work in the aggregate. It does not work.
Yeah, OU needs to do what Texas did with the whole pancake NIL Godfather offer they did a couple years ago, because that is paying out. That's why the Longhorns are as good as they are on offense. If you ask me, it's not the stable of receivers, it's not Quinn Ewers, it's the line.
Yeah, if you recruit on both both sides of the line, you are doing very good. If you have elite on both of those, you're gonna be just fine in college football.
That's how they went from good to great. But look, we've gone too long on this little mini Schooner Pod episode. Time for our favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working? Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches! Yeah! What? Brakes, guys! I can't stop this fast!
It's time for our wild card picks, where we can pick from any game on the slate. Ignore the standings, but Ty is leading. Jameson and Blake are tied for second. We do not need to discuss the last place person, which is me. It's just not good. Just don't look. Cover up that part of the screen with a little piece of tape or something. It's ugly. Jameson, since you are in last place overall, you get to kick us off on wild card. Which game do you like?
Man, Louisiana Monroe, I was kind of worried last week just because of my curse of picking on someone and then feeling really good about it moving forward. Man, I don't know why Vegas is disrespecting. Those are some easy dubs the past couple of weeks, but they're on bye this week. So what I did when I picked Louisiana Monroe, I looked and I was like, what's something dirty I can pick? I kind of like just picking something dirty. It's kind of fun to do. I found something absolutely brutally nasty. It is really, really bad, guys. It's like really, really bad. But I did this with ULM and it worked. And I'm going to go and I'm just going to pick a team. I don't know what I'm doing, but here I am. Give me Temple -2.5 versus Tulsa.
No,
dude. Oh my God. You can't be serious.
Temple's egregious.
Temple is funny. Do you have anything else to that?
Tulsa is also very, very bad. They're also very, very bad. Oh, but they are also very bad. They've had bad losses this year as well. And Temple, you never know. They're at home. I wanted to pick dirty. I just wanted to look at something that's thought and I'd be like, what is something that would just be the absolute nastiest pick? I picked against James Madison whenever I picked ULM, which was James Madison was at home whenever they were putting up big points. And it was absolutely nasty. I understand y'all going to laugh at this one. I just like picking something that's just way out there, and I think it's going to be a fun ride. Give me Temple -2.5. I almost picked.
You're going to feel bad either way.
I almost did a hatred pick. But I decided not to. I might just stay away because I can't keep on throwing shade at all of my teams. But I almost pick Nevada +3 at home versus Fresno. Mikey Keene, bad.
Ooh. All right. Speaking of hatred picks, look, last week was about as bad as possible for me. Both my wild card and my pot of greed hit, and I feel the spite just coursing through my veins. I am so mad. And you know what? At this point, I think it's all lost for me. I am going to get the wild card punishment. So if I'm going to lose, I'm going to take some folks down with me. Blake, how about 9-3 TCU, buddy?
No,
how about 9-3 TCU, buddy? We're going to go double spite because one, as I said, everything I touch turns to shit, right? Right, Blake? And I hate Utah after last week. I hope the Frogs dance on their grave at Rice-Eccles Stadium. I'm all in on the Hoover train. I'm picking TCU every single wild card this week, maybe, or this year, maybe. I'm going to ride the Frogs all the way to the promised land. I believe in Sonny Dykes. He's going to get the program back on control. Blake, I don't know if you heard. Great week of practice. I think this is finally the one. This is finally the great week of practice, Blake. Frogs by 50. But I'm going to take TCU +4.5 as my pick. 9-3 Frogs. Here we come, baby. Rah, rah, TCU.
Damn it. That was actually mine. I'm all in on the 9-3 train. This was going to be the week that we prove it. But, oh, God, nope. Ah, damn it, Bobby. Damn it. Like, we actually, out of all my bad teams right now, or I guess it's just two, it's the Cowboys and TCU. TCU has a chance of turning it around. The Cowboys do not. So, God, now I have to go look for one. That was going to be mine. I thought nobody was going to choose that one. Damn it. I'm going to lose.
Well, you thought wrong.
And I'm going to be up late too. It's like I have to stress about the game the entire night. It's a 9:30 kick. So just screw me. God. I need to find a new game.
Ty, who do you like?
Look, this is a tough one. And I still, although I'm leading the wild card standings this year, I still feel like anything I'm going to touch, I'm going to jinx. So while everything in my being is telling me to take Navy minus 17 against Charlotte, I think that's a great line for that one. Charlotte has put up some points against some opponents, but Navy is rolling right now. Don't listen to Blake. They're not just ranked to give Notre Dame some credibility when they play Notre Dame. Navy is a legitimate team. Navy's better than Army. I don't know why Army is ranked above Navy. They don't have anything on their resume like Navy does right now, but we'll get into that at a later time. So as much as I would love to pick my midshipman minus 17 in Charlotte, I just cannot, because I think that that's a great line. I think it's still being slept on, but I can't jinx it. So I'm going to have to go ahead and pick a team that I don't mind if they get jinxed. I like them, but I don't mind if they get jinxed because it's just going to twist the knife. I'm going to keep going back to that well. It hit last week. It's rare when it hits multiple times in a season, but go ahead and give me Texas State, Boko the Bobcat, minus 10 against Old Dominion. Old Dominion, a school I know well. I know well that Old Dominion. I don't know anything about their football team, but they got some cool restaurants by their campus. I'll give them that. Go ahead and give me Boko.
Oh my God.
10.
They're in Virginia right now.
Yes.
They're
quite a ways from you,
Boko.
Jameson. They're quite a ways from you, but
still 3 hours.
If you go, I will send you some. There's some excellent breakfast and lunch and brunch and everything else restaurants like right there walkable.
I don't know.
The stadium.
I've been out of town 5 weeks in a row, and then I'm going out of town next weekend.
Make it 6. Why?
Make it
why?
7.
Like,
Make it 7.
Why, like at this
you don't
point,
think-
what is a week home gonna do for you? It's not gonna
You don't
recharge
think-
you that much.
Hey, Ashley, I
think
know
your
you didn't
wife-
want to watch the Texas-Oklahoma game, but you want to go watch Old Dominion, Texas State, a 3-hour car ride?
You
going
might be
by
the
myself.
only Texas State fan there.
You could be like, no, Ashley, you don't understand. The mascot does a funny thing where he pats his tummy a bunch of times. It's great.
She's like, she's already told me, I'm so tired of you talking about that Texas State team. You don't even understand. She applied to go to Texas State for college, which is actually hilarious.
That is pretty funny. Boko Ashley, what an alternate universe. Anyways, Blake, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm rattled right now. I had my TCU pick that just to insert them into the podcast, but Bobby now has cursed them. So
I
I'm
got
doing
you in
a
a
quick.
tizzy.
I heard Fresno State minus 3
I will
is a good
say,
pick.
Blake, while you're trying to find a game to pick, I will say it is suspicious because we jumped on this pod and immediately people were asking why that game wasn't on the slate, and the man who decides the slate just mysteriously left off his wild card game.
It's been gone for a while. What other game? What game would replace a bad Utah team?
It cannot be gone unless it was removed.
It was gone from the start of the week. I hadn't made my mind up on the Spite pick until a little bit later in the week. Like the Spite pick came.
I believe Blake. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what we have is referred to as a preponderance of evidence here.
Yep, Bobby said like literally. Quote this week said, usually, like, we definitely want to always keep Texas and OSU if possible on the slate. TCU falls in that same category, but they're so bad this week that we can't put them on. We can't talk about them. We can't have them on the podcast.
They've been off the week. They've been off the podcast for weeks.
Yes,
you
Bobby
single-handedly
said, and I quote,
I did.
They just aren't worth discussing.
Discussing, yes, and he's coming on here discussing my team. This is some absolute farce. Bobby's like, oh, just 2 minutes ago I decided on this. I know Bobby. Bobby's been planning it. He knows his picks coming up. He was not.
Blake, you're about to go full Jerry Jones and be like, well, I might just find some different podcast to make my picks on.
Might have to. The captain's log is still out there somewhere floating on Spotify. So I got my
On
pirate
Anchor.
radio that I can go on and give out the real picks without the big man interfering. But I did arrive on a pick. If I don't when I am this time pressed to find one, I'm just looking for a team that's quit versus a team that has not quit. The team that has quit is UAB. UAB stinks. Trent Dilfer was the worst hire they possibly could have had. They had the ULM coach as their interim, and all the players are like, keep this guy. He can actually coach. No, they brought in Trent Dilfer, who had just coached like a 2A, 3A high school team in Nashville. Granted, good, but it's a private school, so they're gonna be a little bit better, in their region. This guy has never been able to quarterback. This guy's never been able to play. This guy's never been able to coach. I hate when the best day, honestly, was when Trent Dilfer decided to do his little high school coaching career, because it got him off my airwaves, so I never had to see him again on ESPN. Never had to hear him on podcasts, because this guy claims to be the quarterback guru, yet can't actually take any of his own advice and implement it into his own game. This guy is notorious for being the worst quarterback to ever play and win in the Super Bowl, and they're going up against a team that I think has a good coach. I think Alex Golesh is a good coach. They have not had the season that you think they would to start it. Granted, they played Miami, they played Alabama. They played Alabama pretty close for most of that game, but they had some disappointing ones against Memphis, who I still think is a good American team, even with the loss to Navy, and Tulane, who I think is the premier team right now in the American. So I'm not gonna hold it too much against them. A bowl is still in play for them, especially when you get UAB, FAU, Charlotte, and Tulsa still on the schedule. I am going to go with the South Florida Bulls minus 13.5. This UAB team is dreadful. I was looking at their totals the last few weeks. It's like they lost by 20 plus to Navy. They lost by 51 to Tulane, and then to Army last week, and they lost to 34. They're just allowing teams they've hit that quit mode, and I don't think Vegas is caught up enough. So 2 touchdowns, easy at home. Give me the Bulls.
All right, good stuff. So that is your weekend spread for week 8, week 9. Look, things have been pretty good for a while here. It's about to get a little dicey overall. Actually, we got some good games here. LSU at Texas A&M will be
That's
on the
a big
slate.
game.
Yeah,
Big.
Sunflower Showdown, not as great as it looked in preseason. I think we should honestly throw on Boise State at UNLV onto the main slate.
Yes.
That seems interesting.
Very
That
much.
should go.
That probably
Over
could
Rutgers
decide a
USC.
playoff spot. That could
Yeah,
decide a
screw
playoff
Rutgers
spot.
USC. Put it on.
Yeah, garbage. Yeah, we're throwing that on for sure. Yeah, definitely, because there's some stank on this board. What did y'all think about Notre Dame at Navy on the slate? That's a top 25 matchup. That's almost
See, this is what they want.
That's a
This
lot.
is what they wanted you. This is what they want you to think. Navy is a good team, and they have been impressive. But it hit me today when I was reading an article, and it said, "Oh, Notre Dame still plays ranked Army and ranked Navy later this year." I'm like, that's what they did. That is the reason why they finally gave respect to the service academies, is they knew that they were on Notre Dame's schedule. We can, if we want. There's definitely games that we could. Oklahoma State, Baylor, unless the stanky, that's just stanky. That's just
awful.
that is a bad.
Let's see what Oklahoma State does this weekend before.
Yeah,
that's brutal. We'll definitely put Texas at Vanderbilt on there. Missouri at Alabama is definitely on there, and then of course Oklahoma at Ole Miss. A game, Jameson, you and I will see.
Let's go.
We're still traveling there because we already booked the Airbnb.
Wait,
yeah.
Is Ole Miss on a bye this week?
Yes.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah. No, I know.
Never felt like this kind of an underdog going into enemy territory, but here we are. It's gonna be kind of fun.
The enemies will probably be pretty nice.
Yeah, and I mean, and they'll feel. Hey, if we win, it's gonna feel. I've never felt like that before. That kind of upset.
The last time I felt like a dog, and maybe obviously lesser, but like this much of a dog on a true road game was Ohio State.
But we
17.
felt like we could absolutely win that
Yeah.
game. This
No,
is a game where we
definitely.
truly do not think we have a chance.
Right. Agreed. But we'll see. Should be fun. So looking forward to discussing that next either Wednesday or Tuesday. I'm not sure yet.
It'll be Tuesday. I'm on call on Wednesday.
Oh, perfect. That actually works for me because I was going to ask for nobody wants to hear about our scheduling. Thank you all. Thank you all so much
Listen to
for
my doctor words.
yeah, Jameson. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening to the Weekend Spread. We'll be back on Sunday to recap OU South Carolina on the Schooner Pod. Yeah. Well, hey, look, let's hope it's a fun one. And we'll be picking week 9 on the Weekend Spread on Tuesday. So thank you all so much for listening. Always appreciate y'all popping in live on YouTube. Listening a couple days after on your favorite place to listen to podcasts. Make sure to keep doing that. Keep supporting us. 5 stars, like the video, etc., etc. You know the drill. We'll be back next time. Boomer well, yeah, that's it. Good luck out there, everybody. And Boomer Sooner. We need it. We need the Boomer Sooner too.